What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how to pass the Nasm Certified Personal Trainer certification on your first try within 30 days of studying. So most people that take the Nasm, it is one of the more challenging certifications. About 65% of people pass on the first try, which obviously leaves you 35% of people who actually end up failing their first attempt. So today we're going to be talking about my 5 personal tips on how to pass the Nasm, as well as 5 study tips that come right out of the textbook that will help you study the material. So on the Nasm CPT, there are 120 total questions. It is all multiple choice style. So you guys are going to be feeling you're right back at school. So there's 120 total multiple choice questions, and actually 20 of them do not count. You do not know which 20 those are, but basically you get a free 20 where they don't cost, they don't benefit, or they don't hurt you. Okay, so it actually ends up being out of 100. So you need to get 70 out of 100 correct. So 70% to pass the Nasm CPT. So keep that in mind as you are studying. We're gonna just get right into it, guys. I think my first recommendation is get the self-study program. Okay, this isn't actually part of the 10 tips, but this is just my recommendation. If you are out there, obviously when you sign up for Nasm, you're gonna have a ton of different options. I think the self-study costs roughly $550 to $600. And sometimes if you get it on a sale or a discount, you will get like 15 or 20% off. But I highly recommend everyone getting the self-study. You know, they have different packages where you have an online tutor, someone that you can call, different note cards and flashcards. But in my opinion, I think that anyone can actually study for this on your own time if you hold yourself accountable to a strict schedule and actually read the material and do the practice tests. Just a small background about me. I actually am a former college football player, and honestly, school was never a big thing that I enjoyed. I never really took it that seriously, even when I was in high school and college. Studying for the Nasm was like the first time that I actually was like very diligent, and I actually read the material, did the quizzes, took my own notes, made flashcards. So I will say from my own testimony that this was like the first time I actually applied myself, and I was actually very proud that I was able to pass the test within 30 days of studying. So I will say that if you're out there, I highly recommend getting the self-study because you can do it. I think Nasm tries to push the other programs because they obviously want to make more money, but to save some money in your pocket, get the self-study and just hold yourself accountable to doing the work. You know, watching videos like this and all the other videos out there that will help you actually find tips and tricks to study the Nasm will help you more versus actually spending the extra $200 to $300 of actually buying that higher package. So get the self-study, find some YouTube videos that you're gonna follow, and you will be more than ready to take the test. All right, first tip I have for you is plan ahead and choose your exam date. I know it sounds crazy, but yes, choose your exam date early. So once you decide that you want to take the Nasm CPT, start planning when you're going to take the exam. So then you give yourself a goal, a deadline, so that you have to actually start studying for it. And it puts a little bit more pressure on you to say, hey, if I'm going to do it in 30 days, now you actually have to hold yourself accountable to studying each of the chapters and making sure you fully understand it so you can pass at the end of that 30 days. So once you have an idea of when you're going to take the test, now start breaking down and reverse engineering how you're going to break down the material, right? So there's 21 total chapters in the Nasm textbook, which is roughly about 700 pages. So if you think about that, you don't want to just cram all of that information in a day or even in 2 weeks. So whether it's breaking down a chapter a day or chapter every other day, figure out how you're going to study best and how you're going to absorb the information. My second tip is print out the study guides for every single chapter. This stuff is going to help you guys tremendously. The study guides are almost like your little cheat sheet on the bulk of the information that you need from each of the chapters. Like I said, there's a lot of reading, there's a lot of words, there's a lot of pages in the textbook. So the study guides are going to help you kind of pinpoint the main focus, the main information from each of the chapters. So definitely print out the study guides ahead of time and read those first. When I first started studying for the Nasm, I was actually reading each of the chapters, and it was just taking me really long to actually read all of the chapters through. So the study guides helped me kind of get the most important stuff, and I was studying all that, and then those were more of the questions I was seeing on the practice tests. So definitely print out the study guides. That will be a big help as you guys are going through the Nasm textbook. My third tip is going to be take the practice test seriously. You will be shocked at how many of the questions that you see on the practice test are actually going to be on the exam. And now they might be worded differently, a couple words here and there, but most of the information is very similar. So take the practice test seriously. If you're not getting 8 and 9 out of 10 on each of those practice practice quizzes, you're gonna wanna reread that information, reread that study guide, go through your flashcards again, and make sure you understand the bulk of that section that you didn't do that well on. The practice quizzes are a great test in the short term to kind of see where your knowledge is at and how comfortable you are with the material, but take those seriously because you will see, and honestly, I was really shocked at how many of them I saw on the test over and over, right? Now, you're not gonna see all of them again, right? But you will see some of them, and then those ones that you see constantly, at that point, it'll be memorization. You're gonna know exactly what the answer is. So take the practice quizzes seriously. If you're not getting 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 at least, make sure that you are going over those again to get 100%. My fourth tip is gonna be start applying what you're learning from the textbooks and the study guides into your actual day-to-day routines. Most people that are taking the Nasm, you probably have some type of history, or you're wanting to tap into the fitness industry. So you're probably working out at some point in your day, right? Even if you're only working out a couple of days out of the week, start applying what you're learning from the textbook into your workouts, right? Whether it's putting yourself in a frontal position, a transverse position, start using what you're learning from the textbook and applying it, because most people learn from actually doing, right? A lot of people, like only a very few people can learn just from reading out of a textbook and then start taking it from a test, right? So start applying what you're learning from the textbook and apply it to your workouts. This also means start using that stuff on your friends, on your family, on your parents, whoever is around that is willing to use themselves as a guinea pig almost. Start almost training before you actually get the certification, right? Because if you have a friend that you're going to the gym with, we'll start teaching them or looking at how they're doing the overhead squat. Look at how they're doing a back squat or a lunge and see if their knees going over their toe, and start putting yourself in that shoes of actually being a trainer. Because now you're gonna be able to start retaining that information more versus just sitting in your living room and just kind of reading each chapter, taking the practice quizzes. That stuff is awesome. You're gonna need the information, but when you start applying it and understand how you can teach it, you're gonna better retain that information. My fifth tip is working or interning at like a physical therapy clinic or your local gym, and just surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you, right? That know the exercise science, that know the kinesiology behind the body. That's really what helped me. I actually interned at a local physical therapy spot around my area, and it really helped me because you gotta think PTs, they're all doctorates, right? So they have a lot of knowledge of anatomy, of biology, of kinesiology. So they have a lot of information that you can start asking questions, right? If you don't really know a certain position or different bones in the body, like these are people that you can start surrounding yourself with, so you can start retaining and getting more information. Because like I said, not everyone can just sit down at their living room, in their work office, and just read from the textbook. When you can learn and apply yourself in different avenues, whether it's surrounding yourself with PTs or other trainers that are already in the industry, or applying it into your own workouts to yourself and your friends, all these things are going to help you retain the information, right? So I think at the end of the day, it comes back to figuring out how you learn best, right? Some people are visual, some people are audio, some people are kinesthetic learners. So figure out how you learn and retain information best, and then start executing on that stuff so you can retain the information and then end up passing the Nasm. So those were the 5 personal tips that I have for anyone that is studying or is looking to study for the Nasm CPT. Now we're going to transition into the actual Nasm study tips. And these are going to be right out of the textbook, and these are things that you should focus on while you're studying, because you're going to get asked a lot of questions on these areas. Now we're going to tap into the 5 study tips. Okay, I have my laptop right here, so if you see me going back and forth, I'm just going to be looking at some of my notes. The first one we have here is going to be understanding the exercises that come in each of the training stages, right? So we have our stability stage, we have our power stage, and our strength stage. There's going to be roughly 8 to 10 questions on this section. So understanding that if you're using a med ball, that's going to be in the power stage, right? If you're using a med ball on one leg, that's going to be more of a stability exercise, right? So this section is going to be important because you're going to want to understand each of the levels of training, right? So every one of your clients is going to be a little bit different. Some of them are going to be a little bit more experienced, so you might be able to get them from the stabilization stage into the strength or power stage. But when you can understand each of the movements in each of the stages, it gives you a better overall idea of where to start putting clients, but then it gives you an idea of where you need to start progressing or regressing exercises. Tip 2, don't stress too much about muscle actions, okay? You're only gonna see about 2 to 3 questions on the test about muscle actions, as well as muscle origins and insertions, okay? So don't stress too much about muscle actions, because at the end of the day, even if you get those 2 to 3 questions wrong, it's not gonna make or break you on the exam. And don't stress about studying like a whole day just on that, right? I think it's smarter to study parts of the book where it's almost like, what does the gastrocnemius actually do, right? So start finding information like that. Tip number 3, don't stress too much about chapter 3, okay? Chapter 3 is a big science chapter, right? There's gonna be a lot of information about the muscular system, nervous system, the skeletal system, the cardiorespiratory system, but there's not that many questions on that chapter, right? So there's about 3 to 5 questions from chapter 3 on the actual test. Obviously, this information and having that knowledge as a trainer is very important. It's vital. But don't overstress about making sure that you learn and know and memorize every single part of those systems. Obviously, coming back to it after you pass your CPT, you can go back to that information. It's always good information to kind of, restudy and stuff like that. But don't stress over it too much because you're not going to see that many questions specifically about those chapters. And it is a lot of detail, right? So just keep that in mind. Chapter 3, there's only going to be 3 to 5 questions on that chapter, so don't overstress on it too much. Tip number 4. This one is big time, guys. You have to memorize the OPT model, okay? This is one of the staples of Nasm's certification, okay? So the OPT model, you're gonna probably see around 10 to 12 questions on that chart alone, okay? So once you guys find your textbook or once you get it online, make sure you print out that OPT model because that is going to be a big staple in what you see on the test. So there's going to be questions like, how many reps should your client be doing if they're in phase 3 of hypertrophy or in phase 1 of stabilization, whatever it might be. You need to be making sure that you have all of that answered and in the back of your head because you're going to see a ton of questions on that OPT model. And obviously it's a very important thing to know just as you kind of get the certification as well. As you guys can see, this is gonna be more applicable for what you actually learn and actually start doing as a trainer, but make sure you have the OPT model studied and on the back of your head. Tip number 5, this one is very important as well. We're gonna be talking about the muscle imbalances, okay? And this one is really important. It's gonna be specifically talking about like your overhead squat assessment, your upper lower cross syndrome, and then pronation distortion as well. So this is really important, not only just for the Nasm, but for you to actually understand, because when you start seeing your clients, once you pass, you're gonna wanna know this information, right? If someone's knees or toes are pointing out when they squat, understanding why they're doing that, right? So now we're gonna be talking about underactive and overactive muscles. And this section is gonna be roughly 10 to 12 questions in this section alone, okay? So when we're talking about underactive muscles, we're talking about a little bit more weaker muscles, right? If we're talking overactive, they're getting overutilized, so they're gonna be super, super tight. This section is super important to understand. There's a whole chart on the Nasm study guide that will actually break it down for each of the movements, okay? So make sure you guys study this part because you're gonna see a ton of questions on it. You better know why someone's hips are tight or why someone's feet are turning out when they are doing a overhead squat, and there is a chart, so you guys make sure you study that one. So those were my 10 or roughly 10 tips that I have for passing the Nasm CPT. Guys, I really recommend taking your time and actually studying this information. Honestly, I got it done in 30 days, and I think that is a solid time frame to actually pass it. But obviously, with people's schedule, whether it's with work or you have kids or you have school, it may be tough to fit it in 30 days. So even if you have to do a 6-week or an 8-week period, I highly recommend really taking this information and actually trying to retain it the best you can. I think the only negative I have with people that cram it or do it in 5 days or 7 days is they don't necessarily retain that information because they're just memorizing it for a short amount of period just to get the paperwork, right? Obviously, the goal of having your Nasm, especially if you're tapping into this industry, is that you want to help people, right? You want to help them with their health and wellness goals. And for you to be the best trainer you can be, it's to really retain this information and start applying it to your clients. So once you guys actually do pass that exam, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get a paper from the exam place that you took it. And it'll basically just say, Nasm examination result pass. It'll give you the date and all the information. I was super, super excited when I got this at the end of taking it. It doesn't actually they don't actually tell you the score you got, but you'll just get a paper. You shouldn't care about the score. Look, if you passed, you passed. And in a couple weeks down the road, they'll send you a actual certification, like more of a professional looking cert, and it's all nice and stuff. But as you can tell, I haven't even put this into like a nice hanger or anything. But yeah, that's going to be what you actually get after you pass the exam. So just keep that in mind. So on the Nasm CPT, there are 120 total questions. It is all multiple choice style, so you guys are gonna be feeling you're right back at school. So there's 120 total multiple choice questions, and actually 20 of them do not count. You do not know which 20 those are, but basically you get a free 20 where they don't cost, they don't benefit, or they don't hurt you. Okay, so it actually ends up being out of 100. So you need to get 70 out of 100 correct. So 70% to pass the NASM CPT. So keep that in mind as you are studying. I hope you guys liked this video and we're able to get some value out of it. If anyone is out there that is studying for the NASM CPT and you have any additional questions, concerns, or comments, feel free to drop in the comments and let me know if there's any way that I can help out. If you guys did like the video, I would love if you like and subscribe to my channel. Definitely, and hit that bell button as well so you guys can get notified when I push out my next video. You guys will be seeing a ton more stuff of just health and wellness and workout stuff that I'll be posting in the future. But I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuces.